Hey y'all, it's Zack, the legal tech advisor here at Lawyerist. Today, I'd like to talk to you about status updates for your clients, specifically about automating status updates and allowing your clients to find updates on their own. Recently, I sat down with Jose from Case Status, and he showed me how some of their features could help you communicate directly with your clients. Have a listen and see what
All
you
right.
think.
Hey everyone, I'm Jose Figueroa, the solutions engineer for Case Status, and I'm here to show you more of the platform and how we could help firms leverage operational efficiency and create ultimate client satisfaction through our platform.
Awesome, Jose. Thanks for being with me here. I really appreciate you taking the time to show us through Case Status and what all you guys do. And as solutions engineer, you obviously know this stuff inside and out. So I
Well,
imagine we're
yeah.
going to get some real in-depth stuff here. So I appreciate it. But yeah, let's jump into Case Status. But as a real basic thing, Case Status is a client portal, client communicator. How would you describe it?
Yeah, I would say Case Status is an all-in-one information hub for clients.
Okay.
Really a one-stop shop for case updates, automation, and client satisfaction to really provide clients the peace of mind
So
throughout their.
judging from the integrations that you guys have, it is Case Status would potentially take the place of another CRM.
Great question. So with our integrations, we are set up to essentially complement a case management system that is out there, like a Filevine or a Clio or a My Case or anything like that, where law firms have that case management system really to house a lot of the internal data, information that client doesn't necessarily need to worry about. Where we come in is we are that client-facing version of that case management system where we're syncing the information that the law firm wants their client to see,
Okay,
and
so
automating that process as well.
I might have a client relationship manager, a law practice manager, and Case Status, because Case Status is communicating the status of my case directly to my client. We're not marketing to potential new clients or something like that.
We are also marketing to clients through our mass messaging capabilities and NPS tracking, and to be able to track client satisfaction. So, I guess answer your initial question, we do see a lot of firms replacing their CRM with a case status platform to then add to their case management system.
So, but with something like Filevine, which has a CRM, kind of a more robust client relationship management built in, putting Case Status on top of that really just gives you that communication portion and that automated communication portion. And really, I probably should stop talking about it and let you show us what it looks like under the hood.
No, that's perfect. Those are the two levers that we're essentially going to pull as we're walking through the platform, is giving clients this sense of access and a sense of ownership that they've never really had before. And so we'll walk through kind of Case Status in ways that we really help bring that access and ownership to make sure everyone watching this has an idea of kind of what we're looking at. Over here on the right side of my screen is the Case Status web portal, specifically for their staff members, to give them the view of the client and essentially how it works. And so we're pulling in the information from the case management system. We do have a number of firms that are using our platform as a standalone. And so they may not have a CRM, a case management. They may be using just spreadsheets and things. And so we do have a lot of firms using it more of a standalone platform, but really giving a nice high level view for the client, where you have the client name, the primary user, practice area, status of the case. And then over here on the left side is going to be the actual application version of the platform, specifically for the client. So you can see here, this is, my actual phone. It's exactly what the client will experience.
Right.
It's a live view. So you can see kind of what client experiences on the left and then what the staff will experience on the right. Now, you'll notice that both the application and the web portal is going to be firm branded. Really one of those little things that are going to help set firms apart from their competition. It's truly an experience that clients aren't getting everywhere else, especially day one, right? They
Mhm.
just got on with the firm, they're just going along with their case. And so it provides a nice little detail as to essentially, what is going on, right?
Mhm.
We brand the application and the web portal with the firm's logo and color scheme. And so a great little marketing tool there to help kind of differentiate from their competition.
Right.
Now, through the application, you can really see the answer to the number one question that a client may have, right? Clients are calling in asking for updates and really what is going on with their case. And we really provide that operational efficiency for law firms by providing this access to a client 24/7. And so on the application, a client has access to see what's going on with their case. In this case, I have a checklist item of something that needs to happen. I can see the current status of my case, which is the treatment stage under a personal injury case. This could obviously, be for any specific practice area, like a family case or an
Mhm.
estate planning case or anything along those lines, which we're going to go over here in a second. But really giving client access to see what that current status looks like, which in this case is treatment, walking me, the client, through what exactly is happening in this
Mhm.
stage of the case. But then providing a nice visual aid below where I can see, hey, I'm on stage 1 out of the 6 stages. You know,
So
what?
I imagine we'll get to this, but that's not something I have to write for each client. That is information that is there for this is where a client would be. This is a stage the client would be, and that would be kind of templated.
Correct, correct. We'll provide the template for the firm, and I can show you what it looks like here in the background. Where if I go into the settings of the platform, I can see my practice areas as the firm. We offer a number of templates through our kind of practice area library, if you will,
Hmm.
of different categories that a firm can use as a great starting point, right? We even have current customers that are open to giving us kind of their examples of how they have their stages processed. And so a
Yep.
great way for a firm that's just now getting signed on to file or to case status for a firm to just, all right, let me take that back.
Yeah, yeah. That's this is a great example of that. So just I think start from a great
So this would be great for firms that are just signing up with case status to have access to this library, to really have a good starting off point of how they want their stages to look like, right? We
Mhm.
are gathering that data from a case management system, or if we don't integrate with the case management, then they're setting up their stages and really just focusing on the client facing stages that the client needs to essentially worry about. And so we want to make it as simple for the firm to set up that practice area, that client journey, and that will be templatized, or a template for all clients moving forward.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It does. That's great.
Truly a big differentiator between us and a regular texting tool, a client portal that a lot of these case management systems might have, is really the access to that client journey. If you're texting someone, whether it be personal cell phone or through, a text line through a case management system, and you text them, a client, letting them know you've moved on to the next stage of the case, that's great, but the client is essentially going to text back saying, well, what does that mean?
What does
Uh,
that mean? That's exactly right.
what can I do to help? You know, what do you need from me, right? And so we want to become that place to house a lot of that communication and centralize that communication, but we really want to give them that access to the client journey at all times so that they don't have to ask. And so as clients can walk through what their current status looks like, we always want to give clients that access to the entire process, the entire client journey, which is essentially what we're all about.
Hmm.
Here in this case, again, it's more of a personal injury template, but a client can see, I'm on treatment, which is stage 1. I can see a nice detailed description of what's happening in treatment. Here's a link to our welcome video. What should I do during this time? But if I wanted to look ahead as the client, I can easily scroll through and see, well, it looks like stage 2 is going to show maximum medical improvement. It looks like there's a description there to refer me to an FAQ page if I wanted more information. Step 3 is going to be attorney review. 4 is negotiations. 5 is settled. 6 is escrow. That really gives me, the client, a nice overview of what exactly is happening in my case. So really providing this visibility, so that way the clients don't have to call in anymore, right? That tends to be kind of the go-to reaction, is if I haven't heard from my firm or from my lawyer in a matter of a week or a couple of days, I'm just going to call and see what's going on. And if they don't answer, then I'm automatically going to assume that they're not doing the work, when in reality, there is a lot of work that is being done in the background. And so giving them this peace of mind, knowing that they can log in whenever they want, is really where we see a huge decrease of phone calls, more of the unnecessary, inbound calls asking for updates.
And
right now, go ahead.
Just to kind of clarify, this is what you just went through right there. That's for PI, but I can envision a scenario easily for estate planning or divorce, and it looked like you guys already had that set up in the background there, as well, with a bunch of templates for that. But this is definitely not just a PI tool. This is something for communicating to your clients and actually helping your clients access communication that's already there. It's already set up. Yeah.
100%. It's really setting the expectation from the get-go, right? This is something that lawyers and paralegals deal with on a daily basis, where a client may call in, ask a specific question, lawyer or paralegal answers the question, but then client calls back maybe the next day, maybe next week, because they forgot what was said, right? And so really providing this nice expectation around timelines. This is when you can expect to hear from us. Here is what we need from you in this specific stage. And then adding some automation to the mix is huge. And so, but you're right. It definitely can fall in another category for practice areas. I can change it here for you to have a better idea of what it looks like, where I'm on an estate planning case. And so I've moved the stage to estate planning, where as the client, now I can see that I'm on the current status of initial meeting, where, if I hit this more button, gives me a nice overview. I provide clients with a number of resources to assist them in truly making an unforeseen event as easy as possible, right? And so giving them that same client journey, where this is our template. 1 is initial meeting, 2 is planning, 3 is signing an appointment, 4 is drafting. But giving the law firm access to edit these stages as well. No two firms handle an estate planning case the same, or may handle a divorce case the same, or a family case the same. And so we give firms the templates as a good starting off point, but we see a lot of our firms really customizing their stages to, maybe with a different naming convention, maybe a different title, different description. I've mentioned that you can add YouTube material on here, so linking to any videos or an FAQ page. You can have from 2 to 12 stages as well. So you can have more stages, you can have less, to really walk the client through that overview of what's going on.
Okay.
So huge operational efficiency piece there, where we're finding a lot of our firms finding value through the status and process tab. Right now, seeing around a 51% decrease of phone calls, just by giving clients this status and process tab. Imagine your phone calls cut in half. What are you going to do with all that extra time, right? That's the idea.
Well, and you want to talk about getting a piece of software that your staff will really sign on for, and will really they will see the benefits of it. Because I talk to people all the time about, how do you get your staff to change software or to implement certain software? And when they see 51%, or even if it's not 51%, but when they see the decrease and feel the decrease of the phone calls, then they're really gonna sign on for this. They're gonna start to trust you on some of this stuff. Yeah.
I think it's the way society is headed, right? Everything is in a very digital age, where everyone is moving to the mobile aspect, the mobile phones, the applications. And that's where we really differ from any client portal out there, is that we are truly a mobile application and a web portal, where we make it extremely simple for clients to download case status. The way it works is, we want to provide that same experience like an Uber, like a Venmo, right? Where a client is going to get a simple text with a template message. This is the attorney or this is the paralegal. We're using case status. Hit the link to download the app. It takes them to the app store. They download case status, and then all they need to do is put in their cell phone number, and that's it. No need for emails, no need for passwords, any extra credentials. You might be dealing with a client that may not have access to a computer or may not remember their credentials, but they definitely have access to a cell phone or a smartphone, right?
Right.
And so client puts in the cell phone number, they'll enter a verification code for that security. And then once they enter the security code, they're logged into their case. So making it very straightforward for the client to log in, and I'll then have this 24/7 access.
And so that's the mechanism that we would use in two-factor authentication anyway for signing in, is we're saying, listen, you have access to this phone, so that you have access to this phone and this confirmation code. So
Yep.
Now you're logged in. So we're not adding another layer, which I think is one of the questions that we get with these client portals a lot of times is my client going to use it?
Yeah.
And I think when you take away some of that inertia for use, then yes, because this is way, that's a technical term, way safer, way more secure than sending an SMS message to your client that says, hey, can you send me the photos of your car accident? Ooh, that's problematic. And I'm going to tell you that's problematic every time. Whereas if you send hey, you've got a new message in the client portal, and they go to the client portal, which is secure, then we're much more secure.
I got to tell you, we hear that on a daily basis almost from some of the case managers that work with us, where, they were like, well, you wouldn't believe the type of messages and pictures that I'd get at 1 a.m. through my personal cell. And
oh my
they
goodness,
might forget that I'm their paralegal or attorney, and I get all these random pictures and I just can't deal with it,
Mm-hmm.
and so imagine having it all in a business layer, right? A business line through the case status platform, right? Really centralizing the communication and giving that visibility to the staff. That's another huge draw to our platform, and providing that operational efficiency by making sure everyone knows what is being sent back and forth, which is a good segue into our messaging portion. You think of, as you just mentioned, right? Think of this mix of ambient, omni-channel communication, the phone calls, the emails, the text messages. Attorneys every now and again want to give out their personal cell phone number. That for some firms, that is the true differentiator. I want to be quote unquote more personal with my clients, and so let me give out my cell, and there's nothing wrong with that. But then you get those clients that want to reach out at 2 a.m. or on a Sunday and want to get all these updates and want to see what's going on. Then you start seeing firms with their staff having 2 cell phones, right? And so we want to be able to centralize all of that communication and have one easy view for the client and for the staff. For the client side and for the client perspective, they're going to have access to the messages tab, where they're going to receive every single message, every update, every document here in the messages tab. One thing I forgot to mention is, because we are mobile based, because we are using that phone number, if clients do not download the application, they're still going to receive every single message update document via SMS text. All through a secure line where the client can just text you right back and forth like a regular texting thread. So really making sure that adoption is there through the application or through text. And so a client can send a message through the application. They can type a message out. They can add any sort of images, videos, media files, PDFs, documents, anything, to where once they send that message, that's going to come in here into the web portal specifically for the staff. So now we'll switch views a little bit. I'm a staff member now. I'm going to go to my client's case. It's going to take me to that hub for this client, where I can now see all of the messages and activity that has occurred between me and my client. I can see everything is time stamped. So whenever anything gets updated, it lets me know what time it's been updated. We have read receipts on here, which is huge. I can see when my client has actually viewed the message, if they've downloaded the app, as you can see here with this eye icon, to seen by in the actual time. We have a last interaction date where I can see when the client has actually opened up the application. and then really making sure everyone on the team has this visibility. I have a user set up here where whoever is assigned to my case is going to get notified. So that way, whoever needs to respond will obviously respond and get those notifications.
And I think that's a big differentiator with just simply saying, okay, well, we're going to have a business text message line, and that's going to be this phone. And even if you give that, if that's a separate phone, you give that phone to your assistant. Well, like you said, it's single channel. That's one place where it goes in. One person can respond. In this method, anybody that's assigned to this case sees all of the messages and is able to respond as part of the company, as part of the firm.
Yeah. Let's say that the attorney is a little more bird's eye view, where they still want to have that visibility, right? And the paralegal case manager might be the one doing most of the communicating. That paralegal case manager can easily see the messages that have been shared, and then they can mark the message read for the entire team. Hey, I got this message. I'm going to respond. Don't worry about the notification. Maybe they want the attorney to get that notification for a new message, and so they're going to mark the message read for just themselves. And so setting it up so then that way it's very much a collaborative approach where we could assign every single member on the team for a new message. Then that way whoever needs to respond can, but then could also take care of the message and let my team know, hey, I've already responded. We set up a simple daily digest email, which is essentially one email at the end of the business day, letting the client know, or letting the firm know, I apologize, of any unread messages that have come in.
Okay.
Making it very simple and straightforward. Attorneys can even, or paralegals can even send the message as if they were the primary user, which I think is huge. You have that client every now and again that has to hear from the attorney, even though paralegals might be saying the exact same thing, right? They could send their message.
That never happens. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. They could easily send the message as if they were the primary user, send that message out, and back to working, right? And so making it very straightforward there. We also do have the application for the staff as well. And I'll change the view on the application so you can see what it looks like, but it's going to be the application for the attorney and paralegal. I can now see a list of my cases that I'm assigned to. I can go to my client's case. I can update the status of the case. I can send any sort of messages back and forth that I'd like with my client. I could schedule appointments, and I can also check off any sort of checklist items as well.
Okay, so if I'm out at court or something like that, and I'm the attorney, and I want to update the status on the case that just happened because we just had a hearing, I can do that from my phone.
100%.
Great.
A lot of times with case management systems, with the ones that we integrate with, we want to even make that process even more simple. So depending on the case management system, it'll automatically sync a case into the platform. It'll automatically update the client that they've moved on to the next stage of their case. It'll automatically send a message to the client. We have some extra capability with Zapier as kind of a third-party integration, but really making that process very seamless and straightforward.
So you have triggers built in that will send information to these LPMSs, and I imagine it varies how much you can affect in that system from here. Do you have a good deal of information coming from that system to here? So let's say that I was working out of FileVine and I changed my status in the case in FileVine. Would that be able to potentially change the status of the case in case status? I said Correct. Case and status a lot right there.
That's right. Yeah, no, you're 100% right. So we map the phases, specifically in FileVine, we map the phases to the specific stages that you would like the client to view or to get updates on in case status, right? It's the same idea as a case management and a client management. You have phases on a FileVine that you don't necessarily want that client to know. It doesn't necessarily matter if they know that they're on a specific phase. But we can set it up so then that way a specific phase will automate a trigger at a case status to move to the next stage of the case.
Okay, so I could have 35 phases in something like FileVine, and only 12 of them actually trigger something over here in case status.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And again, it's that client-facing version, right? It's really what you want the clients to know. With all of our case managements, we're not pulling too much information from their platform, or if they're using it standalone, if they're creating a case, we don't ask for too much. Really, all we need is the client's first name, last name, and cell phone number to give them that access to the application to send them the invite. On a case management standpoint, we'll be pulling the attorney's email, the case manager's email, the client's practice area or the case type. They have stages, like in FileVine. If they have phases, then we'll get those phases as well. We'll map, we'll make sure we know what you want to map them to, and the case description, and that's essentially it. So we make it very simple, where we don't need all this crazy information from the case management system.
Well, that was going to be one of my questions. Is I think a lot of times when attorneys think about updating their clients, they think about, or at least I did, having a text field that I would update, and that text field then got sent to the client. But that's not what we're talking about. We already have over here in case status pre-populated information for the client, because really that text field is going to be the same thing for most everybody that you deal with at the level that you need to send them. But as it seems here, if I do need to send my client something specific that says, hey, this is particular to your case, I can through the messages.
Correct.
On case status here. And so I can get them specific stuff, but really it's saying you're in this phase. We've already written out what you need to know for this phase.
Yeah, 100%. Giving them the overview, answering that number one question: what is happening? What's going on? What could I expect? And eliminating a lot of those calls that are coming in, because it is the same question. I'd be willing to make the bet that clients don't necessarily want to call, but they do it anyway, right?
Oh, they don't want to.
But that's the only way they've had to reach out.
Right.
It's just via phone. You think of emails. Emails get opened less and less throughout the years, where you could easily ignore an email.
Right.
But everyone has an SMS message or that application downloaded. But yeah, to go along with what you mentioned there, we want to be able to really be able to have that communication going both ways for the staff as well, where the staff member could easily send a message. You can bold, italicize, underline, add any sort of media links that you'd like to send. So like a LawPay link, maybe a DocuSign link, a HelloSign link that you'd like to send out to a client. We have message templates where we house kind of a library of go-to messages. A lot of firms have kind of those answers to those common questions already pre-built, or maybe in a sheet where they essentially just kind of copy paste. This is a great place to house those message templates, where a payment link would be ready to go by just sending that client that payment link. Here is a link to make payment. Let me know if you have questions. Or having a nice template specifically for a review message. Dear client, first name, thanks for your feedback. Would you please consider writing us a favorable Google review? So a great way to have those messages ready to send out, but they could send any sort of message that they'd like. You talked about the automation, Zach, and making it simple for the staff to know that they can set up the automations. That's kind of our goal, is to make it extremely simple and to really automate the processes that should be automated, right? We want to make it human work when it counts, but we can eliminate the unnecessary phone calls and interactions that don't really need to be met.
Well, and it's amazing how human we can make it feel with automation. Sometimes how much more human we can make it feel with automation, where, if I'm coming in and I'm just rattling off a really quick message, I may do it very rigid. Whereas with the automation, it may be, we already have a template that's very, very descriptive and puts the proper information in there. And we don't forget what information people want to have in there as well. So I guess the question is, this doesn't take a rocket scientist to do the automations, I assume, to set them up.
Not at all. We'll go over right now to give you somewhat of a general idea, but it's very straightforward. We set up automations based off of triggers or different scenarios of a case, where we have internally some single-based automations, date-based automations, and more. In this case of a trigger or scenario-based, where one of them you could see here is the no case change, right? The famous no update that every every lawyer and paralegal are, is used to, right? Just letting them know nothing's happened. Setting up a nice trigger that lets the staff member know, this is only getting triggered if nothing is happening, if there's no activity. After 14 days or maybe 30 days, maybe 60 days after the inactivity, sending a message weekly, monthly, twice monthly, where a client gets this message letting them know, hey, we're working on your case, no updates to report. If you have any questions, message us on case status. So a nice safety net, really supplementing these manual tasks that a law firm is already doing, right? You think of a 30-day check-in call, a 60, a 90-day check-in call. We don't have to eliminate that phone call. That can still happen. But we can at least supplement that with some automated messages to at least streamline that approach, to know that if things get busy, if things kind of go out of whack, a client is still going to get this message no matter what, via the app or via text.
That's exactly right. And I think that's kind of what I mean by, we can be more human with this automation. That is, I guess it's almost more humane. We're communicating with our client better. So ideally we'd be able to tell our client all the time what was going on, and so
right.
That's what I mean by human is yes, it may be an automated message, but it's something that they want. And it's something that means that we're treating them in a better way.
Yeah. And I think to even go a step further, tailor the automations based off of a specific practice area or client journey. We can set up these automated messages to live in specific stages of the case, so that I can say, as we go on to initial meeting and move on to the next stage of the case, I want to automate this specific message that is going to be a little more tailorable to that stage, where I can have a recurring message, and you can see we have this message, please remember to pay your invoice. It doesn't have to say that. We can change that message to say whatever you'd like. We have single-based automations where it's one specific message based off of the trigger of moving to the next stage of the case. We have an automation for a birthday message, right? We're pulling in the date of birth from the case management system, or if a client doesn't use the case management and they're using it standalone, then they can enter the date of birth. But a nice, simple birthday message that is automatically going, even when the case is closed. And so really being able to have a nice dynamic approach to our automation so that it's not as robotic, but still, as you mentioned, right, really providing that human aspect behind it.
Yeah. Well, and I think that goes into making sure that our clients are more satisfied with their experience. And that brings me back to the Net Promoter Score that you were saying, send a message saying, hey, we're done with your case. We would love it if you would follow this link to go, review us on Google or something like that. But you guys keep track of or have ways of keeping track of that even deeper than that. Y'all specifically dig into the NPS scores from each client.
Yeah, and if that would be, if you didn't get anything else from this conversation, then the NPS is what I would want everyone to really harp on and focus on, or at least know that we provide is measurable client satisfaction. You mentioned kind of that scenario that is very familiar with a lot of firms, sending that review at the end of the case. Every now and again, it might be a shot in the dark. It might be a 50-50 shot. You don't necessarily know how it goes, right? You might think that you've had a great relationship with this client, and you obviously know the client more than anyone else, and so you can make that call. What if you had information or access to client satisfaction before that,
right,
in every stage of the case? And so the way it works is, as a case is moving along from stage to stage, your client is going to be required to rate their experience from a 0 to 10 NPS score.
Okay.
They actually have to put in a score in that stage of the case once they get triggered in order to view their case on the app again. They'll have the option to leave any sort of feedback. Now, this information, it's not going anywhere. It's staying here with the platform specifically for the firm.
Right.
But now you have this hard data that you've never really had before to look for those opportunities.
Right.
We've talked about the automation of, hey, I want to send this message in a certain stage. Now we can set up a rule that says, I want all of my clients that leave me an 8 to a 10, a promoter score, to automatically get this message with my
Right.
Google Business account or my Avo link or my Super Lawyer link or a landing page with
Mhm.
multiple links, right? On the flip side, I want all of my clients that may give me a detractor score of 6 or below in this specific stage to get this specific message that says, hey, we apologize for the experience. Here's a number you can call. Is there anything we can do different?
Right. Because that's the goal here. You know, when people say, how do I get better reviews, or how do I kind of fight against bad reviews? Well, the best way to do that is to keep bad reviews from getting out there, but we don't want to not know when our clients are dissatisfied. The best way to keep bad reviews from getting out there is to satisfy the client. And the
100%.
more information that we have, we are going to have clients that are dissatisfied. It's going to happen.
Yep.
But what we want to do is learn from that and direct them to a place where they're giving us that information and they're helping us, instead of, and they feel satisfied at the end of that. They feel like they got heard of, hey, you did not get back to me fast enough on blank, or your system was not set up to do blank. I don't know what it is, but they feel like they got heard, and then you can make an adjustment if it's needed. And
Exactly.
I think that's fantastic to ask. And if you're asking as you go down the line, now we're saying, hey, this client is not getting enough attention, or this client is going to be trouble. You want to know those things, even if they scare you initially.
Yeah, that is exactly right. Being able to micro target this data, to be able to effectively mine through this data and look at those maybe detractor scores, passive scores, and really convert that into a positive score by the end of the case.
Right.
Or on the other side of that, looking for those promoters and striking while the iron's hot. If someone is giving me 9s and 10s through the first few stages of the case, I'm not going to wait till the end of the case to send them a review. I'm going to send them a message right there and then.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
And really capitalize on that effort.
Mm-hmm.
And so really giving clients and the law firm access to this information to be able to measure this data is huge. We have a 70 to 85% adoption rate through the application, which I think is humongous, right? Especially when it comes to client adoption. Downloading and using case status. Now, think about it. We're making it a requirement for the client to rate their experience. That mixed in with the 70 to 85% is this huge amount of information now at your disposal.
Right.
So that it's not a review message via email. It's not that Delta email that you get at the end of a flight that says, how would you rate your flight, that no one ever opens, right? It's going directly through the SMS or through the app based off of that information.
Right. Right. Well, and that's kind of the thing here. Case status, in my mind, is not it's not a client status portal. It is a client satisfaction mechanism. It is a
100%.
way to what the whole point is, that people want to know the status of their cases. That's the idea. That's the biggest thing. The biggest complaint people have with their lawyers is, I don't know what they did, and I don't know what they're doing, and they're not calling me back. They're not emailing me. They're not sending me. I keep sending them text messages at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
That way they know it's important, and they're not sending me anything back. That's the biggest complaint people get, and that's what gets people into bar trouble. That's what people.
Yeah, that is the number one complaint in the bar association is lack of communication from the attorney.
100%. And so the case status, the status aspect of this, although that's huge, and I think that's really awesome, the being able to walk through all that, it's the communication aspect. It's the figuring out what their satisfaction level is and how can we increase that and make our clients promoters. Like make our clients go out there and say, hey, this person did awesome for us. Yep. We delight them. We make them, turn them into people that are walking around saying, go to Zack Glazer Legal if you need to do blah, 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 blah,
You're exactly right. Having advocates, creating an advocacy program with this single piece of NPS data. It's crazy how you now can just change the way your firm operates by having client satisfaction data.
Right.
I can look and see that I'm getting specific scores in specific stages of my client journey. as an attorney or as the managing partner, I can then go into my client journey that I have for my client and say, well, it looks like we're getting 2s and 3s on stage 2 of the case. Maybe we can beef that up a little bit. Maybe we can add a little bit more information, maybe a little more color. Maybe
Right.
it's a little too detailed. And we can now change how that looks for the client.
Yeah.
But really providing this insight. And we mentioned, we talk about reviews, and obviously that's huge, right? It increases the SEO rankings online, your online presence, the 5-star reviews, which is huge. We want to be able to fortify referrals as well, which I think is just as important, right? That's, for some firms, that's a lot of their business is word of mouth referrals.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We want to fortify that as much as possible. And so clients have access to a Your Team tab that's going to walk the client through who is working on the case at all times. You can see we make it a little bit more of a personable approach. There's the picture, the phone, the email, the bio. It's going to show all of the attorneys and case managers that are currently working on the case, where the client now can have a nice visual representation of, hey, here are the people working on my matter. If I need to call this case manager, Saul Goodman in this scenario, I can give him a call at this number. I can email them at this number, and the law firm can have that be a direct extension or an email that is forwarded to one specific firm email. So that can say whatever the firm would want. But then I can look at L Woods here, and I can easily refer L to any sort of friends or family members. I can hit this refer button. It's going to pull all my information into that contact card, where I can send it as a text. I can send it as an email. I can send it as a note to any sort of friends or family members that I have, right? We talk about this ease to download case status, this ease of using technology. We want to make this part easy too, is spreading the information or sharing the information, I should say, where all that other person does is just hit save and that contact information is ready to go.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that's exactly right, because what we're talking about is the client experience, which translates to user experience. Is the user experience in this app easy, and the less inertia, the less things that you're putting in between them and promoting you, the better off you are.
100%. We can now have tailored messages for referrals based off of NPS scores. Where maybe it's stage 1 of the case, or stage 2 of the case, I should say, and I just got a 10. Maybe I'm not sending a review right off the bat, but I could easily send a message letting the client know, hey, remember to go to the Your Team tab and refer me to anybody that you like, or we'd really appreciate referrals.
Right.
Which can be a template message already ready to go.
Yeah, and that doesn't have to be pushy. Doesn't have to feel,
right.
And again, you're sending this to somebody that just gave you a 10. You're sending this.
You are ready to go.
They like you, so strike while the iron is hot and go. But I think what this makes me think of with these being able to track this throughout the area is you can create KPIs out of this. You can create key performance indicators for your associates, for your staff, for your team, that are specific to their area. If you have an associate that is all intake, and that's what they do, you could potentially have a key performance indicator be, what are our scores after phase 1? Are we getting 10s? Or right now we're getting 6s, and their key performance indicator is, do we get 7s? That's our goal. Now you're able to manage. Right now we're in a remote world where we're managing remote people, but I think that has created or exacerbated this idea that we don't do a great job of managing people sometimes. And this gives us a way to say, here are the numbers, here's what I need you to do, and you don't have to micromanage them. So I like this from a managerial standpoint of being able to measure something.
Yeah, so everything you're talking about, everything you're bringing up is exactly what is in this Firm Insights tab. You now have this access to client information where we can track this data at a higher level, at a managerial level, where certain members of a firm can have access to. I can see my cases activated in a specific date range, my unique client logins. The NPS data is now available for those executive level staff members, or the managing partner or marketing, where I can see It looks like this is my net promoter score. This is the average feedback score that I'm receiving from my client. Here's a live feed of what those scores and feedback notes look like. But then to take it a step further, here's an NPS leaderboard where I can see how my staff is performing based off of those NPS scores, where every single staff member will have their own score based off of the score clients are leaving them. And so, you know, we have a number of firms that are almost gamifying that whole approach and incentivizing, right? You know, where on a paralegal level, they may essentially run some sort of incentive where on a monthly basis, the highest NPS gets a gift card. Or, you know, you mentioned, you know, the intake department. We can manage it by department as well. Maybe the new associate that comes in, I want to be able to track how you know their scores and really give them, you know, be able to track the efficiency and the experience as well. And so again, it's that insight that a client or that a firm, it's that insight that a firm now has access to just from that NPS information.
Right. Yeah, because that's on one side of case status, we are making things easier for our client, and we're trying to get them. And on the other side, we're trying to get us information, better information to run a better firm and to then make things better for our clients, in which, you know, it becomes a positive cycle.
Yeah. Another piece I wanted to touch on, you know, really measuring the satisfaction, being able to tailor the approach, maybe send any sort of messaging is our mass messaging capability, both for current and past business. You know, we want to make it extremely simple on a user perspective to be able to mass message clients. You know, a lot of firms might be doing an email blast. They might be sending postage, which again, you look at the email open rates compared to a text open rate, and that, you know, they're not even close, right? And so we want to make it simple to mass message our clients, but we also want to make sure we're pushing on that mobile piece. And so I could easily select every single client here on the platform. I have some bulk actions that pop up on here where I can update the practice area and the stage in mass. I can add, remove, replace users in mass as well, right? Staff turnover is a big thing for firms. And so being able to do that extremely quickly is huge. But I could also send a message to all of my clients for any sort of marketing material, Facebook post, blog post, community outreach, right? Charitable events, case updates, right? Still send out any sort of message templates. You know, I might be on round 2 or 3 of my invites, right? Where I want to send the invite message again to make sure that everyone is truly downloading the application. And then take it a step further and filter through. So I can say, hey, I want to reach out to my divorce cases. I want to reach out to my estate planning cases only, my family cases, any subcategory that a firm would create, my Spanish immigration cases. And I say that because I did forget to mention, we do have the application translated in Spanish. So if clients have their phone in the Spanish setting, it'll automatically translate the app. But I can also filter off the date, the status, the NPS score, right? Instead of it being an automatic message, I want to, you know, look at all of my clients that just left me a 10 and then send them a mass message to you know, something specific to a review. I think the game changer in that respect is being able to reach out to closed cases, you know, clients that are no longer working with the firm, cases complete, cases closed. We can continue reaching out to these closed cases and continue that relationship. So if they ever need to come back, they have you guys fresh in mind. You know, we can build that advocacy program for those cases that are no longer active. On the application, you'll see that from a closed case standpoint, it shows on the application as a closed case, but they still have full functionality into the application. I can see all of the messages that have been shared. I can still, you know, refer my attorney to any sort of friends or family members, get appointment reminders, and still view the entire client journey. So still giving them that platform to receive marketing material where even if they delete the application, they're still going to receive everything via text. So really focusing on that mobile aspect and just looking for some more repeat business opportunities.
Right. Because your current clients a lot of times are your, you know, your best referral source. Absolutely.
Right. 100%.
Oh, text messaging that is outside. So if somebody doesn't download case status, and I'm sending them text messages that are status updates, what do those, and they're sending me stuff back and forth, what do those entail? Is it still just like, hey, please go download this, or could they potentially be sending me the like those images that I think might be inadvisable from an attorney-client privilege standpoint over SMS?
Yeah, great question, and the answer is yes.
Okay.
Clients can definitely reach out via text. That same message that a client is receiving to invite and to download case status, it's all going to stay within that same thread, where a client may just respond back and say, hey, I'm not going to download the app. We'll just keep it here via text. And everything else is just within that same text thread of updates, messages, documents, anything along those lines.
Okay. So if I send them something, they haven't downloaded the app, and I send them something that says, hey, your status is blank now. Do they just get your status is blank now, or do they get your status is blank and here's a description of your status?
It'll let them know that the case is moved to the next stage of the case.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. That makes sense. And all right. It is troublesome wrangling your clients to not text you. You give them something like this, and they're still gonna, like you said, there's still 30% of the people are like, nah, I'm gonna text you because
because I need to.
because I want things to be inconvenient. Anyway,
that's right. We have a number of firms that set up the notifications for clients, both push notification via the app, but also through SMS notifications as well. Mm-hmm. The system will recognize if a client has downloaded the app, and then it'll default to push notifications. But we can set it up so that way it's still the client is still receiving both push notification and SMS notification.
And a hey, okay, cool.
One other thing I wanted to bring up that I think is huge for clients is this place on hold feature. Huge for firms. It happens every day where clients kind of dragging their feet. They're taking their time with any sort of documentation, taking a good bit. We have this checklist feature, which we're actually going to go over here in a second, letting the client know what needs to happen in the stage of the case. But I also want to be able to let the client know, hey, we're placing your case on hold. So I could place my client's case on hold. I can let them know why it is we're placing it on hold, where I can let the client know, hey, need docs in order to continue. Where once I hit save here and place the case on hold, it's going to notify the client on the app. It turns the application bright red, stays that way every single day until the firm removes the hold themselves.
Okay.
So think of that as a nice accountability piece, right? You build this sense of urgency to really let the client know, here's what I need.
Right. Because that specific thing happens all the time. I've asked them for the documents every day for the last 15 days. And prior to that, it was once a week for 2 months. And we can't do anything till they get back to us, and they need to know that. Yeah.
It might be a third party, hey, we're waiting on a court date, going to place your case on hold, anything along those lines.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be this, great sense of urgency at all times. We do have checklists that the law firm can add to a client's case where it's the first thing they can see when they log into the application is, hey, documentation needed. You could assign a due date to the checklist item so the client knows if a date is overdue, but we can also automate these checklist items based off of the stage that the case is living in as well. So as you move on to the next stage of the case, that client is going to have this list of 3 or 4 tasks that need to be taken care of in that stage.
Okay.
So it's more of a streamlined approach for the client, and also building that accountability.
Yeah, it's an automated task list in a sense for them. And I've heard many attorneys asking for that type of thing, which obviously you guys have as well.
We talk about the access. We want to build this ownership as well, which is huge. Clients with this access now feel like a partner, where they want to work with you as the attorney, as the firm, to really get all this information done in time, to be able to track any sort of appointments, to be able to get reminders and show up for their appointments, to be able to send any sort of documentation. just by giving them this view of the case, it builds this muscle memory for the client to log in if they have any questions, right? We're
Yeah.
almost building that sensation of like, a mobile banking app. I don't know about you, Zach, but I look at my Wells Fargo app every 5 seconds, even though the account balance isn't changed, right?
It never does. It never does.
Yeah, you hope it only gets bigger, right?
Right.
But it doesn't. It's the same idea, for your legal matter. Why or why can't it be the same for a legal matter?
Right.
Where
Right.
a client can log in and have that peace of mind at all times.
Right. And then have that asynchronous communication that doesn't demand that they come into the office or that they call you or that you call them. They can say, I'm going to get you those documents when I have time, because people are busy. Contrary to popular belief, people other than lawyers are busy too.
That's right. That's right.
Well, Jose, thanks for showing me around this. Case Status obviously has a lot to offer. And I if people want to learn more about Case Status, where can they go?
Yeah, check out our website, casestatus.com. Feel free to reach out, info@casestatus.com as well, for any sort of questions. We'd love to show you a little bit more of the product, go through a demonstration and show you how we can make your jobs a whole lot easier.
Fantastic. Well, again, thanks for showing me around. I really appreciate it. And we'll see you next time around here, Jose. Thanks.
Cool. Thanks, Zach. Appreciate it.